Bong, bong, bong. That is the music that we will not be discussing in today's video, we will be talking about the 2018 remake of Suspiria. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this one. I'd rather talk about the remake of Suspiria because everybody and their mother, I think, overhypes the original Suspiria. Dare I say, I said it, come at me, oh my god. But don't get me wrong though, I 1000% respect, and I do like the 1977 version of Suspiria, directed by Dario Argento, especially the score by Goblin. It is a great score, don't get me wrong, but it makes my brain run, my blood run, everything. It's just, I'm like, oh my god. So I guess it's doing its point, but at the end of the day, it ain't for me. I was even a person when they announced that they were remaking Suspiria. I was like, why are you doing this? How dare you ruin pure cinema? And even on the first watch, I was just like, F this movie. This movie is trash. I don't give a shit. Blah, 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 blah. There was a year where I was just like, let me put on this remake, this trash dumpster of a movie. But then putting on that movie, I in my mood or something, I don't know what it was, but I was just like, oh my god, this is it. This movie's great. I actually really enjoy that it's completely muted as opposed to super beautiful like the original. I thought that the cast was phenomenal. Oh my god, let's just get into it. The 2018 remake of Suspiria, directed by Luca Guadagnino. I'm going to mess that up way too many times throughout this, so I'm gonna act like I'm best friends with him and just call him Luca. This movie is a bold reimagining of Dario Argento's 1977 cult classic. It retains the broad strokes of the original's plot. A young dancer, Susie Bannion, discovers dark secrets with a prestigious dance academy, but shifts the tone, setting, and themes dramatically. This version delves into psychological horror, feminist subtext, and historical allegory, all while retaining the occult essence. This movie's a lot. This movie is 2.5 hours long. I mean, to be exact, it is 2 hours and 32 minutes. It has a really stellar cast. I mean, you got Dakota Johnson, you got Chloe Grace Moretz, you have Tilda Swinton, Mia Goth, who Mia Goth has blown up so much in the past couple of years. The original score for the 1977 version was done by this band Goblin. They're great. They've done a lot of Argento movies, but this version was done by Tom York. I found kind of interesting, but I'm also just kind of like, is Tom just pissed that like Johnny Greenwood's out like scoring these epic movies like There Will Be Blood, The Master, Inherent Vice, all of Paul Thomas Anderson's later work, and then Tom was just like, oh, I could score some movies too, bud. And then, you know, he gets in there and he does this score. Now, I don't think that the score is amazing, but I love the vibe of it. I think it's great. There's been times where I found myself, let me throw on this vinyl and I'll listen to it while I get some writing done. I actually really even like, I'm not a big fan of like movies that take place in a time period where like Tom York was in existence. And that whole opening title, it has this Tom York song playing, but I like it. It really sets the vibe and the tone of this movie. And I really think that people need to kind of be more open about this movie because it's really not a bad movie. I really wish, I don't even know if this was screened in theaters or not, but I really would love for someone to screen this movie in a theater so I can watch it on a big screen, loud, really get in there. This isn't a jab at the movie, but people probably find ways to make jokes out of it. But like, this is a great movie to fall asleep to. I don't know if you ladies or if you germs have any movies that are like, oh, it's my go-to sleeping movie. I have a lot of those, and this is one of them because it's quiet. As tense as this movie is, it's also a very quiet movie. The film is set in divided Berlin in 1977, the same year the original movie was released. This change adds a layer of political tension, intertwining the horror with the societal unrest of post-war Germany, including references to the Baader-Meinhof proof. Don't know if I said any of that last stuff properly. Luca expands on the original's lure, introducing themes of maternal power and exploring the witch's coven more deeply. This remake gives more focus to the witch's motivations and internal conflicts, particularly the rivalry between Madame Blanc, played by Tilda Swinton, and Mother Markos. And I think that's why I do enjoy this movie, because it's a fully fleshed out movie. I think that there's way more background that goes on. This is like the director's cut that didn't happen. Unlike the original's vibrant, surreal use of color, Luca opts for muted tones and a bleak gray color palette, reflecting the cold reality of its historical setting. Tom York of Radiohead composed a haunting, minimalist score, standing in stark contrast to Goblin's bombastic prog rock soundtrack from the original. Reading that out loud kind of makes sense why it's exactly like the original had these super beautiful colors that, you know, the giallo aspect of things. Dario Argento was very famous for doing those things. However, having a band like Goblin, you know, as I said, that music, that it's like ugh. Just like, it's ear piercing. I remember seeing the original Suspiria in a theater, and I just remember my ears were piercing. It was just so piercing. That score, I'm just like, it's I think that's why I like wound up like just kind of like hating that music. But it also makes sense why Tom York, like he went completely opposite. It's very subtle and just very haunting, more so as in your face. Tilda Swinton plays 3 characters: Madame Blanc, Helena Markos, and Dr. Joseph Klemperer, under the pseudonym Lutz Ebersdorf. Probably said that wrong. Her transformation in Klemperer involved hours of makeup, and Luca even created fake backstories and interviews for Ebersdorf to fool the press. Sorry, probably totally said that wrong. Swinton stated that portraying Klemperer allowed her to explore the feminine within the masculine. Dakota Johnson, who plays Susie, trained in ballet for 6 months to prepare for the role. Despite her training, some of the more complex dance moves were performed by her body double. Dakota Johnson later revealed that the intense filming process left her needing therapy due to the heavy emotional toll. Her performance is really good in this movie. I mean, I wasn't a Dakota Johnson fan, definitely a big Don Johnson fan, but like her dad, but I wasn't sold on Dakota Johnson. And then when I saw this movie a second time, I was just like, oh wow, like this is great. Like she put so much effort into this movie, like into this role, a lot of body work. I don't know how many takes were done on this movie per setup, but like, ooh, like that has to be insanely draining. Probably exactly more so in the same vein as like Black Swan that Darren Aronofsky did with Natalie Portman. Great movie. Oh, I love that movie. The gruesome death scenes, particularly Olga's body contortions, relied heavily on practical effects rather than CGI. Alina Fokina, who played Olga, used her real dance training to execute the scene's disturbing movements. The design of Mother Suspiria, revealed as the true form of Susie, was inspired by religious iconography with a twisted, grotesque elegance that evokes ancient pagan deities. Argento's original film hinted at a trilogy about the 3 mothers. Luca expanded this lore in his remake, embedding cryptic references to the other mothers, Mother Lacrimarium and Mother Tenebrarum, throughout the film. Should have probably picked a different movie where, like, you know, I could pronounce the people's names, but whatever. Tom York's score includes reverse sounds, subtle references to Radiohead's music, and eerie vocal distortions to mimic the film's unsettling atmosphere. As I said, I think this score is really decent background music. It's not too in your face. It's not too crazy. There's some actual like singy songs on it and stuff. I literally just also ordered the 4K Blu-ray of the 2018 Suspiria, and I'm really curious to dive into the bonus features on it. I probably should have waited to make this video, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to hopefully like change your brain and be like, hey, I'm gonna go revisit Suspiria 2018 and see what happens. The film received polarized reactions. Critics praised it for its ambition, performances, and originality, but criticized its length. At 152 minutes, it has since developed a cult following, with fans appreciating its psychological depth of willingness to deviate from the original. Everybody as a community, especially the horror community, Jesus flipping Christ, like if you say the wrong thing about a horror movie, that's why it's like, I'm like, you know, like say what you want in the comment section, I can give a rat's ass. But anyway, people like flip their shit when you say, like, I even have like a couple friends that are just like, oh, this movie's a snooze fest, or, you know, it's just not good, blah blah blah. I'm like, but why is it not good? Is it just because you're so married to the original version that we can't open up our eye to new different takes on things? I don't think a lot of people were open-minded, because we are, it's just, you know, overall it's just very hard to remake a movie that is, you know, so big and iconic. So there's a fun few Easter eggs that I would like to dive into, and that are the witches' names, such as Madame Blanc and Miss Tanner, are nods to the original film, but their roles are expanded and reinterpreted. The year 1977, the choice of setting the remake in 1977 is a deliberate homage to the original's release year. There was actually a witch on set. Now in 2024, saying that there's a witch on set, I mean, it's just kind of like, we're all witches, all wicked. I like Tim Burton. I go to Hot Topic. We get it. But, however, Jessica Harper, the star of the original Suspiria, has a cameo as Aunt Klemperer's missing wife. This connection bridges the two films. Ha! You thought I was gonna be talking about some real witch was on set, but no, I'd be like, oh, it was just a witch from the OG, you know? The 2018 Suspiria is a rich, layered film that invites repeated viewings and analysis. It's a love it or hate it horror experience, but its bold, creative choices make it unforgettable. So overall, I think you should go check out this movie. I think it's not fun, but but it's a movie, it's a time, it's 2.5 hours of a time, but it's a vibe, and it's a great rainy day movie. And next time it is raining, throw this movie on. I think your perception will totally shift on 2018's Suspiria.